Welcome to our AnyCameraWillDo Directors Roundtable. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to start off with a bit of an introduction. We're going to go around in a circle. Start with Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan Riakos, and I'm the writer and director of a feature film called Crushed. Should I go into?
Yeah, give us a little bit.
Yeah, so Crushed is a mystery thriller set on a vineyard. We shot out at Mudgee, and it is about a young woman who's been estranged from her family, living in the big city, and her family own a vineyard, and she gets a call saying her dad's been killed in this terrible accident. She goes home for the funeral, finds out it wasn't an accident, it was a murder, and the mum's the prime suspect. So murder mystery in a vineyard, what else more could you want?
Very nice.
Hi, my name's Tim Boyle. I've made a couple of feature films to date. My new film, The Half Dead, which I've already spoken to this man. We are still working on changing the title, but it's basically going through post-production at the moment. It's finished the edit. It's now in VFX and doing all the visual effects. And I'm currently just started writing another film. So looking to shoot that at the end of the year. So that's me.
Hi, my name's Kit McD. Hello to the people who have my back. It's the best part of me. I'm the director of a film called The Hunters Club, which is a ridiculously low-budget action film that we shot up in Brisbane and on the Gold Coast. It's about, a guy bumps into his friend who he thought had been dead for 10 years, finds out he's an assassin, and two of them have to work together so that they don't die. I'm going to pass the mic on now.
Hi, I'm Heath Davis. I'm the writer-director of a film coming out soon called Broke, and it's not a horror film with no visual effects or action. It's a drama. So that's that dreaded word that people seem to hate nowadays. But yeah, it's a story of a former NRL star who has fallen on hard times with a gambling addiction, and he gets a shot at redemption with the help and love of his number one fan. It's it's coming out soon. It's all done, just about. It's gonna premiere at MIF coming up soon, actually in a couple of weeks. So, and then it's coming out mid-September, and we're gonna platform release it September, October, throughout to Christmas. So yeah, come and check it out.
Oh, cool.
Hi, my name is Michael Budd. I'm the producer and the director of a film called Love of My Life, starring Peter O'Brien. I made it in Bathurst a couple of years back now, about a year and a half back. It's currently sold all over the world, through America, Germany, Benelux. It's basically the story of a deranged surgeon who captures his victims and lets them know that he's about to torture them for 5 days and do unspeakable things for them. And if they say they quit, he goes downstairs and kills the love of their life. So they have to choose between the two. And the film was a very unique film, shot stylistically in a way which runs through flashbacks, and it's more about sensor deprivation than about horror. It's none of this cut your arm off, blood goes out there, it's none of that. It's all about just like let your mind do the thing with this movie and let you discover what you think is going to happen in that moment. And I'm very proud of this film, and I'm hoping it's the first of many. Actually, I know it's the first of many. My background is obviously I've appeared in quite a few Hollywood films as an actor. Some of you may have known my work from The Matrix, also The Cold Light of Day with Bruce Willis and Sigourney Weaver. So my way into making feature film was as an actor, and I appeared in many films around the world before I directed a feature.
Excellent. Thank you very much, guys. So we're going to start off real simple. What does the director do? Because they certainly get a lot of accolade and they get a lot of blame when it goes wrong. So who wants to start on this one? Kit. Kit does.
Buggered if I know. Look, from everything, you read lots of things about what a director does. Quite often they're the people that stand up there and they go, the best director. In what I've discovered, for me, ultimately the director is... Look, I see it as the director is the guy who really has to know everything. You're the manager, you're the art director, you're the script writer, you're the DOP. You have other people to do those things, but you need to know what it is you want to get as a final result. You're the person that has to constantly be in charge of making sure all the other departments are doing their job. You can't be wandering around kind of, should we put a light? Oh, no, I don't know. Directors, it's kind of, in many ways, it's the least glamorous job you can have, because once you really get down to it, it's just work. You are constantly looking, approving, masking, going over shots, and you need to make sure that everything is right, and you kind of need to be on top of it. And for me, I think you really do need to know a little bit about every single department to do it properly, because you need to be able to talk to everybody on their level, but not really know so much that you start to think, I know how to do it better than them.
I see directing as really simple, very similar to what you were just saying there. It's about having a vision and then being able to communicate that vision. That's all it is. So if you have the right team around you, which is what you're saying, and you're able to communicate your vision, then that's the director's job. And the problem is when you have directors who don't have a clear vision and they can't communicate, or they have a clear vision. A lot of writers wish to be directors because they go, I've written this story and I know exactly what I want, but they can't tell other people exactly what they want. And so the job of a director is somebody who can take a script, whether they've written it or somebody else has written it, and give their clear communication about their vision. And then if you can get everybody on board with your vision, everybody shares the same vision, you're all making the same film. Anybody else want to chat?
Director's job is probably to stress more than everybody else. And I don't know, I kind of see it as kind of like being the host of a party, making sure everyone has a good time except you. But also getting the best out of everybody. And I don't know, it's almost like putting other people before you, but they're working for your vision. And that's a hard thing to do for a lot of people. But I write and direct, so as Tim was just saying earlier, I kind of have the vision in my head, and unfortunately I know how to communicate it. But everyone's different. But yeah, knowing what you want and being able to translate it and choosing the right people to help you bring it together. And then if you're directing actors, know when to get out of the way and trust people as well. So, I cast myself. I know who can do the role, and I try, I guide them when they need it, but try not to over-direct too. A lot of directing is what you don't say as much as you do say. But directing's everything from locations. A lot of directing's in pre-production. If you're prepared enough, you should really, when the film's happening, is you're sort of facilitating and making sure everyone else is kind of comfortable. And there's a lot of producing in directing. And a lot of directors don't want to admit that, but that's true. So.
Look, no, definitely I concur with what everyone has said so far on the table. For the guys that are just here today to learn a little bit about filmmaking and the process itself, quintessentially the director's job is to read the words on the page and to bring them to life. So to have a look at the page and start to build a scene structure. As soon as you read a script and you see the words on the page start to visualize for you, then you know yourself that you are a director. If you don't have the ability, if you're struggling, you're grappling with visualizing, okay, where can this be taking place? How can I shoot it? Where are we going to move the camera? How can I set up? How can I make this exciting? How can I build climax? Then you might be more of a writer, you might be more of an actor. An actor visualizes to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, the actors are more the moving props within the scene. When I was trained in London, my mentor always said to me, fish don't swim in water. Fish don't believe in water, they swim in it. And that's what an actor does. An actor just has to be in the moment to moment to moment. So from a directing point of view, they're very separate. But from the directing point of view, it's all about that visualization, which I think Tim was really, really touching on. The other stuff comes later, which I think we can talk about more later, which is more you're saying with the producing as well. So from my opinion, you know, a director's job is to visualize what's on the page.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much what you guys all say. The one thing I would have to add that we haven't really touched on is it's really, really important as a director to be, you know, the vision, like we've already discussed. But I think what I really enjoy and what is really exciting about filmmaking is that it's a collaborative process. And, you know, I write as well my scripts. So, you know, you're in your little zone, you're writing, you're conceiving of what this idea could be. And I'm always grateful when I find a really strong team to come on board with me, to come on the journey, and I'm able to then, you know, share my vision with them, and then they make it better. It's like, you know, you want your DOP to come on board and you want them to be the best in the room at their job because that's what you're hiring them for. And the same with the actors. It's like so important for me to have those conversations. And like when I do rehearsals, it's not necessarily about trying to get every word right, every beat right. It's more about exploring the story world with the actors and bringing up questions that they might have about why, what the motivations they might have or the world that it exists in. And ultimately, that collaboration makes my ideas so much stronger. But I guess the thing about being a director is understanding when to take those suggestions and when to leave them. Because, you know, 1,000 people are going to tell you how you should do something. But what you really need to do is, you know, you've got that vision inside your head and somebody will offer up, you know, an amazing idea and you have to weigh it against this vision to see if it's right, you know, because there's 1,000 ways you can make a film, but you need to make it the way your vision should be. So it's, I guess you're the person who has to weigh up what is appropriate to take on board. So, yeah. So
several of you guys sort of commented on the idea that there's, you know, when to get out of the way and things like that. I guess the next question is like, what is your approach? I mean, there is a right way and a wrong way. How do you know that? How do you guys find this out?
I guess, like, do you mean generally how you approach a script and casting and the whole thing, or
when you're on set as a director?
I think the most important thing is preparation, because at the end of the day, you're going to have 1,000 questions asked from every single department, and you have to be prepared to answer them. And so you need to be as prepared as possible so that you're not having to make decisions that should have been made beforehand, which leaves you open for when crazy shit happens on set and the unexpected pops up. You've got headspace to be able to make the right decisions then. So I guess it's I don't know about you guys, but, you know, I always do a really strong breakdown of the script beforehand. I look at all the different intentions and the beats, and then, you know what, I leave that in the folder, and until I get snagged on the day, I don't really need to refer to it. It's more like, okay, I've done the work, it's in my head. If I get stuck for some reason, I can refer to it, but it's almost like doing your homework so then you can forget about it and use your intuition. So, yeah.
For me, day to day, it really varies with who I'm working with. So I found with certain actors, it's easier to approach people in a certain way, and obviously different ways with other actors. Like we were talking about a friend who's in a mutual friend who's in both our movies, Mr. Steve Bastoni. You know, for me, I've worked with Steve for a long time, so if Steve comes into set, I will go and grab a coffee with him and have a coffee, have a chat about the scene, have a chat about the dialogue, work it out so it's all sorted before we even get on set. And for other actors, I might have to scream at them really loudly and go, "What the hell are you doing?" And they start to cry, and I go, "Capture it, great, thank you, hugs." So really just, it depends on who the people are. I mean, for me, I don't make the notes. You know, for me, when I go to shoot a film, it's very much in my head. So there's never a time that I sort of sit there and go, what was I thinking about this? If I can't answer the question, if an actor throws me a question and I can't answer it, then they're right. You know, I'm like, wow, that's actually, I never thought of that. Good point. Let's go with what you're saying. But I mean, I was fortunate. Michael's actually in my film, so you're going to get to that way. So it's going to be interesting. Sort of the directing and the acting sort of stuff, sort of working through it all. No, I didn't actually yell at him. There was no yelling at Michael, but Scares the crap out of me. But no, so that's how I do it. It's really on a day to day, and it's never the same. Again, it comes back to that communication. Some people respond better to certain ways of communication, and for me, I just love what I do. So for me, it's just a matter about getting the right people together, and if they love what I'm doing and they love what they're doing, and we're all loving it, then usually the energy is pretty cool. So I usually don't have to scream at people. By the way, just saying that. It's happened twice. Just saying.
I'm probably not going to add too much more because we're all riffing on the same topic. The only thing ultimately I think I would say is, like, the question is there a right or wrong way? What's the right way? What's the wrong way? I don't see it as much as there's a right or a wrong way. It's more a case of you just need to choose what way you want to do it and stick to it. It's having the confidence to come into the day and going, okay, this is what I need to do, and not get too distracted by all the things that happen, and because it's very easy to lose your sensibilities and lose your set. And that's also where a really good team comes in, and because sometimes you can be like, oh yeah, I've got this great idea, I'm going to do this, and somebody goes, yeah, but aren't we making an action film, not a romance? And you're like, oh crap, yeah, sorry. It's just having the confidence in yourself, and part of that comes from preparation to know, and again, links back to vision. There's art is so subjective. There's not really right or wrong. It's all opinion. It's just a factor of going, this is what I want, and having the confidence to kind of stick through it.
I'll keep it brief. But really, I guess it's about building trust. And I always say the director's job is to create an environment, especially with the things that I do, because they're performance-based a lot. So I try to create an environment where it's okay to make a dick of yourself, and the actors are feeling relaxed and they can be vulnerable, and that comes down to knowing what you want, trust, and then facilitating the script, and especially when it's like week 3, day 8, and everyone's in it together. There's no hiding, and everybody's tired, and that's when directing really comes in, and it's your job to stay buoyant and create that vibe. Again, it comes to like being the host of the party. So at certain times, it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a certain person to do it as well, So a lot of people say they want to do it, but you get into the pressure cooker, and it comes down to human relationships a lot too. And if you're a douchebag, people are going to spot that straight away. So, and facilitating the story and breaking it down. I broke each scene down, each day down to almost like mini battles, and that was what I was doing that day. And we're facilitating the story, and everybody was on the same page. And once you know that, you service the script, and hopefully the rest of it takes care of itself. But I think a lot of the decisions are made in pre too. So casting right, getting the right crew, all that jazz.
Yeah, I mean, can't add much more. I'd just like to confirm that The Half Dead is a great film. I worked with Tim on that film for many months, and really excited about that project, and what we did together. And working with Tim as a director was an amazing experience. Fantastic guy with his Air Jordans on every day, and just really relaxed and got them on. And I've really relaxed, and the reason why I'm leading down that path is, I think at the end of the day, if you have an idea and you want to see that, it's that old mantra of just decide what you want to do, make a plan of how you're going to get there, and just go for it. And then if you do that with the right people, and I think you were touching on that earlier, myself, I just love to work on good projects with good people. Because I feel like the Hollywood days, or the big gig days, or the big money days, the big jobs, they'll come. Initially, right now, the way the filmmaking industry is, it is completely about just doing stuff. Here in Australia, we need to be seen to be doing stuff. We need to be doing stuff. We're creative people, and we need to create. So you need to find teams of people that you want to work with, and just work with them. And that is the bottom line for me. Everybody that I worked with, you touched on this before, I felt blessed every day to be working with these people. Yeah, I had people that gave me shit and just was like at me the whole time. That's wrong, you're not doing it right, you're not doing it, no. I remember this last film when I did it this way, but that's just the way it is, that's just people, doing their thing, and once you get past all that animosity and you just You just flow. It's beautiful. It's beautiful things, and you make half-dead babies.
It does. That sounds wonderfully disturbing.
There's a lot of noise competition. Might I beg that you keep the microphone here? Yeah.
You can beg.
I want to
Beg.
better beg.
Down, beg.
lay it down.
Okay, so how do you guys see the state of our Australian industry? There's a lot of criticisms out there that we are a broken industry. I personally don't agree with that. But are we in a trough? Are we on the start of a new wave? Where are we at? How exciting is it, or lack of that? Who wants to start?
I'll start with that one. I'm very keen about this one. I actually think it's a really, really awesome time. I think there's been eras in filmmaking, and for my life, and from where I've been, the 70s was one of those eras where you had the Scorseses and all that those Spielberg coming up and all those sort of people coming up. And I'm not suggesting that that's what's going on, but if you look at what's going on, if you look at what's going on with digital distribution and this new wave of cinema and how people are able to get 4K, 5K, 6K. We're shooting the next film on 8K. So, there's the quality there that is accessible to people and to filmmakers. And then all of a sudden, you're getting people who, back in the day, when I first started being a filmmaker, it was in the mid-90s. And, for me to shoot something on Super 16, which I did, cost X amount of money just to buy the film and to process it. Now, once you ran out of money, you couldn't buy any more film. So you were doing 1 take, 2 takes, and then that's it. That's got nothing else. Whereas now you can actually sit there and they say, well, you should be very careful with how you shoot your film on digital because it's still hard drives and what have you. But you have this accessibility to technology. I just bought a drone, and I can now shoot aerial stuff for 4K, with a 3-axis gimbal, and it's steady. It's beautiful. And I'm sitting there going, 2 years ago I couldn't even get a crane. Now I can just throw the drone up 25 feet and drop it down, and there's your crane shot. I mean, it's just amazing where technology is. So I think what's going to happen at the moment is that people are going to get their hands on technology. And I said this last time I was here. There are kids out there at 16 years old who are going out making amazing YouTube videos with visual effects which make me go, oh, I wish I had that in my film. And these are just guys who are in year 9 at school who are just messing around with something. And I'm just going, wow, this is amazing. And we as professionals need to be better than that. And the thing is that these people are going to be having access to making films and access to distributing the films. So I think there is a massive new wave of filmmakers coming through because people have the ability to do it. Now, anyone can get Pro Tools, anyone can get music, anybody can get Word on their computer. Doesn't mean they're going to write a novel. So it still comes up to the people doing it. But, don't ask me to sing. We'll talk about that. Your ears will bleed. It's not a good thing. Don't ask me to draw. I cannot draw a stick figure. But I can write and I can make a film. And that's the thing. So you still need the tools and the talent to be able to use the tools. But I honestly believe we're on something really good, and because of the accessibility and people get the options to not only make their films but have their films seen, and that's through the use of the internet and what's going on there. So I feel very strongly. I think this is going to be a new era of some really cool stuff happening. Who's next?
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I often say to people that 5 years ago, there's no way that I could have made Crushed. Can people still hear? It's like karaoke. Yeah, there's no way that I could have made Crushed 5 years ago. It's amazing how quickly technology is changing. Even just things like the price of a hard drive when we started was triple the cost that a price of a hard drive is now. And when you're talking about shooting on 2K, 4K, 8K, and you're a really low budget film, that is really important, things like that. You know what I mean? That's the difference between being able to afford to shoot for an extra few days or not. And what I kind of think that is happening at the moment is the democratization of filmmaking. Before it was you needed to have access to wealthy patrons to be able to make a film, if you weren't going to Screen Australia or, you know what I mean? Whereas now it's like anyone can pick up a camera, but you still need the skills to be able to produce something that's worthy of watching. But I guess the challenge, I think it's amazing that we've got this opportunity to make films the way we do these days, and the challenge is about cutting through. And I think we need to be a lot smarter from the get-go before you even put the pen on the page about how you're going to pitch this film, how you're going to get it to an audience, how you're going to reach your niche. You have to be a lot more clever. And, 10 years ago, you could make the film and someone else would do all that work for you. And now you have to be really clever and really smart and really, be prepared to do more than just finish the film off. The journey's a lot longer than that now.
You put pen to paper? Old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the question again?
Are we on the cusp of a new wave? Or are we as bad as everyone says?
No, I think so. Johan Earl made a film recently. I thought it was very good quality. I think there's been quite a few. I was working on set with you and I felt the quality was very good there. So, I know my film was very good quality. It was picked up all over the world and it's, in all the stores now. You can get it, JB Hi-Fi, all that. Sorry, couldn't help it. But look, I think there's a lot of potential for us as a country to start making films at the moment. Be really specific about your style and about what you want to say, because there is room for everybody. There's room for as many films as we can make. We can just make them. As long as you, really specific about, what you're trying to achieve, people will love it. People will love you. You've got a personality. Everyone's got something different here in the room. So my thing is different to his thing. We've all got different things going on. And, it's just about letting it out and letting it shine. So from what I've seen of the Australian film industry at the moment, I think definitely we're on the cusp of something special. And just by sitting here with these very talented directors now, some of them haven't hit market yet, I get a really good vibe that, definitely. So that's how I answer that.
I don't know. I could be the opposite. Only because I write character-driven things. And globally, they're not as appreciated as they once were. So I think, yeah. And I guess if you look at audience, they're not really flocking to Australian films, but in a way, I think that's stigmatised from Ghosts of Seasons Past a little bit. So, yeah. So the fact that it's accessible and everyone can make a film is great. But at the same time, obviously, genre films, certain things are the flavour of the month in multiplexes. So I don't want to sound negative, but it's probably a harder market, according to sales agents and distributors, with the films that I'm kind of creating. Yet at the same time, they're way cheaper to make than they are visual effects films. So there's a positive and a negative to it.
I'm so jealous of that.
Yeah, and at the same time, you just got to stick to your guns, So you can only write what you know and make what you know, and yeah, forge your own way. And if you keep them small, then your overheads are cheaper, and you don't have to recoup $10 million. So there's no pressure on that. So, yeah.
My next film. Sorry, I was just going to say, just on that, my next film is as small as I can make it, because this other one's taking so long in post, in VFX. So coming out the other end where I'm sitting here waiting for other people to deliver shots for me, I'm sitting here going, well, next time I do something whilst I'm waiting, I'm going to make it small, because, it takes too long to make it big, and but I'm happy we're doing it. It's very ambitious, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit around for another 2 years waiting for something to happen. So, off we go.
I don't know. I'm done.
He's done. I think I'll probably remain pragmatic here. And are we on the cusp of something special? There is the chance for it. I think the bigger questions are kind of what Heath was saying. It's about distribution. So there are greater tools. It is much easier to make films. Anybody can pick up a camera. What you really need to decide when you make your film is A, why you want to make it, And B, where exactly are you making it for? Because you are not going to compete with Cineplex. And that's purely down to marketing. These are films that quite often spend as much of their budget on marketing as they do on, as they do on pretty much everything else. So something like The Avengers, $180 million film, and I think this mic is cutting out, they spend close to $130 million on marketing. Part of the issue, I think, with Australian film is not a case of audience fatigue or, the stigma of previous films. They just simply don't know about them. The opportunities we have with direct distribution, with digital, with download, the video kiosks, there are a lot more films out there. But I think the bigger thing that needs to happen is, as a community, people need to spread the word about the smaller films. It's there that the groundswell really, I feel, will be better spent, because without the information from other people getting out there saying, oh, did you see this film? Things like the web series Airlock and Infamy, made by the same people. It was available video on demand. They didn't do a cinema release because of the Australian distribution model and certain things with that. But it's a sci-fi film. I don't know if... Infamy, yeah. I don't know how many people here have seen it or heard of it.
They're doing really well, those guys.
Yeah, they're actually doing well. But again...
So Enzo, who produced Airlock, is the different guys to Shane Abyss, but yeah, they're all getting money from Screen Australia. Yeah. So
they're getting money from Screen Australia. We're not. We're independent filmmakers, and I'll take the money. Oh well, hell yeah, I'll take the money. But look, I don't know. I'm trying to gauge where we're at with the questions, so I'm not trying to get ahead too much. But my bottom line thing is, right, why I came here today is because I just want to say one thing. In terms of Screen Australia, I don't feel like it's set up well for independent filmmakers at the moment. At the moment, to get a 40% tax rebate on the money that you've spent on a film, you need to spend over $550,000. I can make you a shit-hot movie for around $150,000 to $250,000 every day of the week, and I can get it distributed every day of the week. Not every day, but you know what I mean? At every day of the week. And I can get it distributed worldwide because I know it's going to be slick. I know I'm going to use a Chapman dolly. I know it's going to have movement. I know for the kind of films that I'm making, I know it's going to be beautiful, and I know that's my opinion. So what I would like for Screen Australia to do is to drop the threshold down. So if we do spend $100,000, maybe some of you guys spent $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, whatever it is, if they just drop that threshold down and give us a 40% rebate, it's a lot more attractive for people to want to invest in small independent film, because the journey to get your money back, when you do a worldwide release, digitally, the checks that roll back in, I know they're not huge. You're talking thousands at a time, the checks that come back to you. So you're not getting hundreds, 50 to 1,000, even if everyone loves it. Just the way it's distributed now, so many people can download, they can do whatever they want. They don't need to go and buy your movie. Google Play, I've got that. JB Hi-Fi, I got that. Rental, I got that. Everything, every country. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make a lot of money back from the film. It's just the internet is the internet. If I want something, I can just go get it. That's a reality. So what we need to do is they need to stop getting out of this thing of, oh yeah, you need to be in 3 cities at a time and get a theatrical release, or you need to premiere at Cannes and all this crap. They need to just say, look, we're going to support indie filmmakers. We're going to let them get a tax rebate so that, when I made my film, I had people that came and put their pension, their superannuation money in. I had people that were so behind it. They were just businessmen. They said, oh yeah, I believe in filmmaking. Oh, I'll chuck 30 grand into what you're doing, and they wanted to get behind it. But they didn't get 1 cent back, 1 rebate. And for them to start seeing returns, they're going to wait 3, 4, 5 years. Now, other people that spend $550,000 to $1 million, they're getting returns much faster, because at the end of the tax year, they get 40% straight back into the production. So, that's my thing. That's what I would like to see happen, and that's just my opinion.
Fair enough. So, considering those difficulties you've just brought up, and considering the difficulties of being in Australia, we've got a somewhat difficult industry sometimes. We're a small population in a very large country. Why make Australian films? Why compete? What is your drive to do this sort of suffering art?
I don't think there's a choice. I think that if you can go, should I make a film or should I do this? Then you should go do that other thing, because making a film is really bloody hard. And it's not just something that it's like really hard for 3 months, it's really hard forever. And you go through different peaks and troughs where you've got heaps of energy, or, you know, you've got heaps of support, and you guys will know how, you know, you're on set, and set you think, the shoot's the hardest part of the film. And maybe for some people it is, but for me, because you've got this team behind you and you've got the adrenaline pumping, it just happens. And it's kind of like, after that point, when the crew all move on to their next films and get paid on their next jobs, and you're still slugging it away in post or in distribution, that you've still got to have that energy to move forward. So I guess for me, it's not a choice. I don't have a choice. I don't have a fallback plan, because I don't think I would be happy doing anything else. But I don't know, sometimes I always think, you know, if I were to go blind or something, what would I do? It would still be something creative, but it's kind of, there's no choice. I'm not a 9-to-5 job person, and I think it's the way you are. And if you don't feel that strongly, don't make a film.
Always to me. I don't make Australian films, I'm sorry. So that's how it is. I make... my last film was an American film. The next one's an American film set in America, just because it's a bigger market to sell to. So it's not that I'm anti-Australian, it's just not what I do. So I'm very genre-driven. I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles, and I know I can sell things there. So, yeah. So I just make movies in Australia for the widest audience possible.
Kind of in a similar way, it's not that I don't make Australian films. I think quite often there's a hang-up with making Australian films. I think ultimately people make films. Where they're made adds a flavour to it. You can't help it. Like, it's a winery film. There's only a few places. I mean, you can make it in France, you can make it over in Napa Valley, but it'll have an Australian flair to it. I have no idea where I'm going with this, but it's...
Talk to me about Australian accents in films.
Okay, I'm probably going to upset some people at this table, but okay, the thing with me, I look at things like the English don't care if they have accents in their film. They still make it. I personally get a bit annoyed when I see Australians making films with American accents when people cannot do American accents. They do it because they feel they need to get into the American market. I understand that there is a sense that you need to do that in some regards, but I feel that was probably adequate 10 years ago. I don't think it's as much of a problem now. Otherwise, everywhere in the world would do their films in American accents. It seems to me a weirdly, uniquely Australian factor that we want to pander to make our films with American accents, when quite often people cannot do proper American accents, especially on a low budget. Some people can, but unless you can do a proper American accent and do it naturally, your entire performance base...
Can't say that, man. That's like saying you can't say that, man. No disrespect to you, but you can't say they didn't deliver an Australian accent, an American accent perfectly. You can't turn around and say, oh, they didn't act beautifully. You can't say someone didn't direct properly. I mean, this is just art, you know what I mean? People are trying to achieve a certain level. Where we land is where you land, It's like, you got to go props. He was doing, like Kate Winslet, she's getting all the plaudits now because she's does an impeccable Australian accent. I bet you when I go watch that movie, I can pick it apart and go, that was shit. You know what I mean? But
Inglorious, what was it?
Yeah.
That was magic.
Russell Crowe has never done an accent in his life. He just does the same shit every time. A lot of people do. I mean, once we get to the higher levels and once you start achieving the echelon of the business as an actor, if you're acting truthfully and in the moment, no one will give a shit about what accent you're doing. Like if you're going to be stylized into the moment of what the picture is about or where it's set to be or where everyone's supposed to be happening, where this shit's going down, then you kind of have to do your best to get there. Like you can't be in a Western and wear street clothes, you know what I mean? Even if you got cool, funky cowboy-style street clothes. You know what I mean? It's like you know, everyone's doing their best. So I can understand why that irks you, but I just don't 100% agree with it. I had American accents and British accents in my film, no Australian accents. And the film, you had Welsh, you know.
What's your logic to this? Why do you end up going down that?
Well, my films are set in America, so the Half Dead's set in Chicago. So it's a place. Now it could have been set in Australia. We could have set it there, but I didn't. But we have British accents. We've got John Rhys Davies is in my film, who was in Lord of the Rings and in Indiana Jones. He's a great actor. And he has that Welsh voice that does that really deep sort of. I'm not going to ask him to do an accent. That's his shit. That's the Russell Crowe thing, right? So it's not about only saying we only want to do American accents. It's just, for me, I have an American sales agent. That American sales agent knows his markets, and he sells it as an American film that's set in America. And then that way we just sell out through DVD and video on demand and stuff like that as an American film. All our exterior shots are American shots. They're shots of New York City and Chicago. They look beautiful. Everything else is done here. But that's for me, it's just a way of getting a film out. It's not that I'm anti-Australian. I've made Australian films. I've made 3 Australian films. Just at the moment, the stuff that I'm doing through the business connections that I have, American. Nobody's complained. I mean, you talk about quality actors. I have a low-budget film, but I mean, I have, you look at my actors. I've got Peter Phelps, Shayla Geyer, Steve Bastoni, Tasma Walton obviously is the lead. Tasma lives over in LA 9 months of the year, so she has an American accent when she wants, and she's an amazing actress. So for me, it's I'm very fortunate that I have a great cast that can handle that. I mean, I have people speaking Russian in my film, and actually speaking Russian. I don't know what they're saying. I'm hoping they're saying what they're supposed to be saying. Like the subtitles say what they're supposed to be saying. I don't know what they're saying. So, yeah, exactly. But so for me, it's an international flavour.
So,
but
Heath, you're kind of the opposite. You got a heavy drama full of Australian voices. Yeah. So does that scare you? Tell me what your thoughts are on that. Especially once you listen to these guys.
I don't know. It really, the story dictates. I don't really care where the setting is, to tell you the truth. If my themes are mostly universal, so yeah, it should be able to. If I do a good job, it'll resonate wherever. So yeah, I mean, it just felt for the world that I could written, and these were Australian characters. But I've had a miserable Hollywood experience. So the reason why I made this film here, it was an Australian story per se, but all my friends were here. And the only way it got made was because my entire crew and all the actors were my friends. And I was like, okay, this is what we're going to make. And it was made as a target audience for it that doesn't get Australian films very often. So I think if you like Chopper and you like, Animal Kingdom, films like this, you probably like my film. It's kind of based on my experience growing up in the burbs. And Western Sydney is not a trendy place, but there's a lot of people that live there. And so is Queensland, and so of all these areas. So I kind of made a film for the people that I grew up with that don't watch Australian movies, and they tell me why they don't. So I kind of made a film for those guys, and that's probably why Screen Australia didn't want to get involved in it. But that doesn't faze me at all. It was about servicing the story, and that's where it was set, and that's where it came about. But the next one might not be there, just depending on the story, really.
So that takes us kind of in a bit of a circle back to Kit, because your films sort of, you could say many similar things about it. You're Australian actors. You've got a film that's not for audiences that expect Australian films. Tell us about your approach. I guess what I'm saying is you've got a film that's action-orientated on a low budget. It's not the usual Australian fare.
I guess, yeah, in as far as just very quickly to touch back on, I wasn't having a go saying you guys shouldn't have made Australian films. The point that I was trying to make was I feel that when people get stuck, you've set a film in America, that's great, do it. My issue is when people use it from the start and then use people that cannot do proper American accents, it means all the energy goes into the accent and is detracted from the performance. Anyway, let's put that one to bed.
Just on that, I do ADR. So I loop the entire film. So I say on the day, don't worry about the accent. Just do the performance, and then when we go into post audio, we loop it, and then I'm like, don't worry about the performance, get the accent right. Do you know what I mean? So.
Actually, I think you just don't like the performance is what I was trying to lead at, because I said to you, you can't say that. I didn't mean you can't say that. You said it. You can. But what I'm saying is when actors act, they live. When actors act, they live truthfully in their set of given circumstances. So my truth is my truth. You can't take that away from me. Your truth is your truth, and your truth is your truth. So when you're when you are giving your performance, I feel like you probably don't like the performance as much as the accent, because the accent isn't the most important thing in that scene. That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough. We're going to move on. So, Andrew Trauke shared an interesting statistic recently with us, and that was that 85 to 90% of first-time Australian directors never make another feature. 10% go on to make their second. So the question is, how does an Australian filmmaker forge a career on home soil without having to go overseas? So we've got some people who have stayed in Australia. We've got some people who have been everywhere. Tell us, starting with Michael.
What was the question? How do you forge a career? I feel like I'm a millionaire a minute or something. It's weird. The table's not round. It's square, by the way. I just want to let you know that.
The question is, how do you forge a career as an Australian filmmaker on home soil?
Well, help. I mean, getting tax in the right place, The tax plays a big role, We're not millionaires, we want to create stuff, but we don't have unlimited budgets. Everyone's talking about the small budget, but, that budget could be helped a little bit, the government support. I feel like if you actually make a film, if you actually get there and you make it, and at the end of it, you come out of it and you've got a film and it's pressed on a DCP or ready for DVD or Blu-ray, and you've actually done that, then you deserve to get, a little bit of a rebate or some sort of props, because you just took a journey, man. You just went so hard and so far, and you just did something amazing. And so, anyone who's made a feature film, I have mad love for and mad props for. How do you do it?
Thanks, man.
How do you keep it going in this industry? I think you've got it going tonight. You're networking. People are meeting people. People are having ideas. We're collaborating. We're trying to find ways to work together. We've got access to more things. So, how do we do it? The bottom line is there's no right or wrong way to get a film made. I could just, we could turn these cameras around now. We could change the light quickly, and you could all be extras, and I could stab him, and he could belt me, or or there could be a bomb outside, a nuclear bomb that's going to happen from Chinese stuff, or. Yeah, okay, I'm just saying. But you know what I mean? You can make a film anywhere. You can make it in one room. You can make it in 5 rooms. You can do it anywhere. It's about the collaborative process and coming up and doing it. So, that's my thoughts on that.
Are you really going to blow us all up, or is it hopefully not? I don't know, really. It depends what you want from your career. If that's... everyone's different, so... if you want to get rich or whatever, then, I can't control that either. So everybody's different. Everybody gets into it for different reasons. There's a lot of trial and error. I kind of know what I want to do, and I think the more I try and control my own fate, the better it is. And fortunately, my stuff doesn't require that much money. It might not make me tons of bucks at the same time, but... I get to sort of control things and have the creative ownership over it. And, I'm kind of happy with that. Guys like, I might not love all these films, but Rolf de Heer, for instance, he stays here and he makes these small films. Some do well, some don't. Some budgets are super tiny, but he's a careerist and he might not live on the harbour and have all the luxuries, but he gets to make the films that he wants, like them or not. So, again, it really depends on what your lifestyle is like.
Kind of to echo what you've just said, I think ultimately I'd look at those stats and just having done a film and everybody that sits here, I think I've just said ultimately 600 times. 85% people don't make another one because they probably get to the end of it and they're either burnt out or they realise that's not what they want to do. Yeah. I mean, that's really what sets anybody who continues apart, is the sheer tenacity and the perseverance. A lot of these things, you make a film, you realize it's a long haul. Like, it's anywhere between 3 to 4 to 6 to 10 years. Sometimes it doesn't even get made. So really, it's a case of, if you want to make a film, you make a film. Don't let anybody stop you. But if you get to the end of it and you realize, oh, maybe I don't want to do it, then you don't do it. It's like, as Megan was saying before, some of us just don't have a choice. Like, it's not really about whether we want to make it. You kind of just can't not.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. For me, I work like multiple jobs on weekends and nights and stuff like that. That's how I do it. So, so I DJ in nightclubs and stuff like that. So, and I've been doing that for 20 years. And, it's hard because you spend your entire week working on your film, writing or doing something, and then you work night times. But that's just the means to an end. It pays the bills. And, you get through your weekend and you start again. And, that's it. If you think being a filmmaker is easy, it's not. You need to find something else to pay the bills whilst you be a filmmaker. I'm very fortunate that my job is Friday and Saturday nights, and it's regular Friday and Saturday nights, which means Monday through Friday, I'm 100% working on my films. And I'm subsidized by working. It means that I don't sleep for weekends. It means that I can't even remember having a Christmas or a New Year's in the last 20 years because I've always worked them. But you kind of keep rocking and rolling. I've been fortunate. I've been on some pretty big films and had some things go really well for me. And, I've had times where I've made lots of money. I've had times where I've had very little money, and it's one of those things that it's I could sit up here and bullshit to everybody and say, oh, it's fantastic. But it is fantastic because I love it. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. So it's not bullshit. I love it. And so much so that even as soon as I put, one film to rest, a day later, I'm always going, right, what's next? Let's go. Well, I want to shoot another film, And so for me, it's what you're saying. It's that you have to do it. And, I really wish I had this passion for like being an accountant or a lawyer because, dude, I would be like, seriously, I'd be set up really well by now but I don't. It's absolutely, it would be very nice. But for me, the passion is filmmaking, and for me, it's the whole process. It's storytelling. So it's starting with the script and the idea, and then getting the script and then moving it through into production and so on and so forth. So in order to have the flexibility to do that, I have to do other jobs as well, and that's it. So it's a hard reality, and there are times, there's been times, I remember going back a number of years ago, my car engine blew up and I was DJing in the city and it was 5:30 in the morning. I hadn't slept in 26 hours at this stage. I had to catch the bus. So it was the night ride coming in from the city. And I just was like looking out the window and I was like going, man, one of these days, I'm not going to have to do this. And that was like 12 years ago. So here we are. So, but that's the thing. And it's like you sit there and go, it's hard work. And if you think it's not, then good luck.
That's a way to pass it.
So the question is about next film and how do you make a second film and do you get to make it here? I think that for me personally, I don't think about making my career being only Australian or only overseas. I think we have to think globally. We have to think globally about our stories and globally about our audiences because Australian audiences are so tiny. But not just because of that. I don't make films, you touched on it before, Heath. It's about trying to resonate. You're trying to create a story that's universal and human and resonating with people, and so that should cross boundaries. So I don't really think about making my films must be Australian or whatever like that. But yeah, it's the long haul. I think you've got to look everywhere, wherever you think that you might have a market or you might be able to sell your film, or whether you shoot it in Australia or the States or wherever. I'm kind of open to seeing what opportunities come up, and it's tough, but I don't know. I'm not one of those people who wants to sit here and ruminate about how, hardly anyone gets to make a second feature because I just know I'm going to make one. If I'm alive, then I'll be making a second feature. That's just a fact. Just not sure how yet.
All right, so there's a mile of different platforms now, online, all sorts of stuff. I saw that Enzo commented recently that Airlock's been released. Everyone says pretty damn kick-ass, which is awesome. He's also said that it's been uploaded a bunch of times to YouTube, so not even torrent sites. We're talking about YouTube and getting it, taken down through legitimate processes is proving very, very difficult. So there's a whole pile of different platforms. Piracy is as big an issue as it's ever been and all that sort of stuff. How do we compete as Australian filmmakers with the behemoth that is Hollywood and piracy and the myriad of other people making different types of content? How do we compete? How do we get our voice out there?
Yeah, okay, so for me, piracy is a really funny issue for me. I think I was telling you this last time I was here, but I'll say it again for those people who weren't around. I had a mentor back in the early 90s before YouTube and the internet was around, as it is today, where you could watch videos and stuff. And she said to me, the most important thing for you to do as a filmmaker is have your film seen. And I think that's still incredibly true because, if you build a fan base, you can work, your Kickstarts and your things like that, your Indiegogo's and things like that. If you have 1 million people who just love what you do and they're happy to give you, $2, that's $2 million. But the thing is that, I know, right? Look at that. I can count. It's DJing, you can count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. But the reality is that if you can build that sort of fan base, I think that's really important. And I think you get that from people seeing your stuff. So it's kind of like a love-hate thing for me because I feel that although it's really not cool getting stuff stolen from you, which is what it is, at the same time, that's how people are seeing things. And so for me, it's about going, okay, well, the film's going to be illegally downloaded, and the more people that like it, the more people are going to illegally download it. But what I'm hoping for is that the next time I go out and they go, oh yeah, that's the guy who made that film, they're going to actually pay up front. And I think for me, that's how I see the future going, that you get a solid fan base of people who are happy to throw money at you before you make a film, then you've actually already won. You've actually already got your budget and it's not costing you anything and you're not worrying about DJing on the weekends or whatever it is, because you actually are generating. And if you make a really shitty movie, no one's going to give you a cent. So it then comes down to you as a filmmaker about the quality of film that you're making. And if you're making good quality films, then hopefully people will get on board. And so I think piracy is kind of a double-edged sword. They're closing down sites. I've been following, obviously, and I'm sure a lot of you people here have been following, but they've been closing down sites. And they're talking about the legislation that's going to stop people from downloading stuff, but obviously people with VPNs and stuff like that, so people can get around it. I think those floodgates have been open for piracy, and I don't think you can stop it. I think we as filmmakers need to almost embrace it. It's funny, Enzo was the first one to do that, the guy who did Airlock, where he released The Tunnel and actually released it on the BitTorrent site for free to download. That for a lot of reasons worked and for a lot of reasons didn't work. And Enzo's had a lot of success and a lot of pain because of that. And, it's tough because, I don't think Hollywood knows really what to do at the moment. Pretty much every movie that comes out, and, I love comic book films, but really, Ant-Man? It looks good, but it's just like it's just another one. It's just another one. It's another one. It's another one. It's like the only things that are being played at the cinemas are Marvel things, and it's kind of killing everything. Anyway, that's going on a different rant. But I think the hard thing is that I don't think Hollywood really knows what to do. So they're going back to the things that they know. Marvel films work. Star Wars works. I can't wait to see Star Wars, but it works, And for me, I think they're really nervous, and they're doing Ghostbusters. They're doing everything, and what's happening is that the only people who are making interesting new films are the people who aren't in the Hollywood system, and then those people coming through, they need to have their movies seen. So if 10 million people watch your movie, I believe is better than 1,000 people seeing your film and paying for it. I think so that's just how I feel. Now, as a money man, as the producer, I really want to see that money back because it's important. You know, people don't realize that I'm doing 3 jobs and working night and paying for saving up all my money to pay for this one visual effects guy to do this one shot. And they don't think that. Most people will watch my movie and they'll go, yeah, cool. And then they'll get on with their life. You know, they'll sit there for 2 hours and go, yeah, that's all right, I like that. Not knowing the 6 years of work and the struggle and the blood and the sweat, the tears that go into it. And but we as filmmakers need to kind of embrace the fact that if people are watching a film, whether it's free or whether it's paid for, that's got to be a good thing. If you want to do it for a career.
Just to touch on that, everyone that downloads your film is not really a customer of yours. So people go, like, my film's been downloaded about 20,000 times at the moment, which was hard for me to take. Also, the fact that, I had a release in Benelux, which is sort of like and Germany, and then people ripped it and then changed it to Spanish, and, they did all different things, and they're viewing it all across Europe. And it's hard to take, but I also appreciate that, like, not every person that downloads a movie that you make is actually your customer. A lot of people had no intentions of ever seeing your movie and just saw it there in a download file and said, okay, I'll download that. I know for a fact that if I'm passionate about seeing a movie, I really want to see it, no matter if it's on in the cinema, if it's out on Blu-ray, if it's, on iTunes, I will just go and pay for that because I need to see that movie. It's something I need to do. So I don't necessarily go, oh my God, 20,000 downloads, 20,000 people I've missed out on at $2.50 or $3. Ah, wow, investors would love me now if I had that money. I don't worry about it. I just say, well, yeah, exactly what you're saying. At least people have seen it. But just to touch on that, not every person that downloads a movie was ever going to see that movie to begin with. That's my opinion.
All right, final question. We're going to wind this thing up. What would you tell filmmakers who are about to embark on their first feature, or who are considering it as do we really do this as a career? What would you tell them? Heath.
Well, basically, you only do it if your life depends on it, really. That's kind of my advice, because it's going to take a lot of pain and suffering. But yeah, put it down and pick it up in maybe, 6 months' time, and see if you still feel the same about it, because there's no hurry to make it. You got to want to love it, and then it's going to take a long time to get it up, and it's going to take a long time to make it, and it's going to take a long time to get it out there. So you want to love it. And I'm just lucky that I love my film still. And, it's been 12 months since I shot it and cut it. And I keep saying, imagine I hated this thing, but you got to continue to finish it. So time, you just make sure you're ready to do it.
Kind of, I guess, the same. I mean, keep it short. I'll keep it sheep. I'll go into New Zealand. Losing it. I'd just say don't stop. Like, as everyone said, you probably get the idea that, honestly, go into it with your eyes wide open. Understand that if you're going to make a film, it is going to take a long time. It will. There are no shortcuts. And if you take a shortcut, it'll probably turn out not very well. But the fact is that just do it. Like, kind of, I actually slightly disagree. I wouldn't say put it down, wait 6 months and see if you want to do it. I'd say just go and do it, because ultimately, I think I've said this to somebody else before, but prepare. Actually, you know what it is? To first-time filmmakers, go into it preparing to fail, because you're always going to make your first film, and it might well suck, but that doesn't mean your next one will.
Yeah, that's good. For me, that's very profound. For me, comfy shoes. So in my case, Air Jordans. You're going to be on your feet a hell of a lot, and if you aren't wearing good shoes, you're going to feel it by day 2 or 3. So my big thing is make sure you wear really comfortable sneakers, because you're going to be on your feet all day. I know this sounds stupid, but that's the advice I could give you. Comfy shoes.
I would say, probably touching a little bit on what you said, Kit, I am a just do it kind of person. I've been in the industry for a long time, and I think in Australia we are lucky to have something like Screen Australia where there is public funding. Most countries don't have that at all, and everyone is floundering around trying to get their film made. But I also think what that does is it can make us a little lazy, and I think I think everyone here at the table spent a bit of time in the US, and the indie film scene there is so strong because they don't have any other choice, and they're not waiting for somebody to give them permission. Nobody needs permission to make a film. If you only have to give yourself permission to make film. So for me, it's like taking that real indie spirit that the Yanks have and just going out there and doing it. And if you fail, it doesn't matter. That's the best way to learn. And I think the other thing that we have in this country is that people are so afraid of doing something wrong because they'll think, I'll never get my second film made if I do this film so wrong. And I think that's terrible. That's the worst way to be an artist, is to be safe. And so I think the two things is, just go out there and do it and be confident in doing it, and don't be afraid to fail. And if you do fail, then it's up to you to get yourself back up and move on to your next project. So.
What was the question?
What would you tell a filmmaker who's about to embark on their first?
Okay, so you're thinking about doing this. It's mad crazy, right? It's like the craziest thing you ever do, right? Can I just say that when you first start making a film, every department tells you that you can't do it without that department. Everyone says, if you don't get makeup this way, it's not going to look good. If you don't have this shot, it's not going to look good. If you don't have these lights, it's not going to look good. Everyone's going to keep saying that to you. Just work within your parameters, work within the budget you can achieve or raise, and give it a crack. I once spoke to a guy from New York who made a film for $15,000 US. It did over $10 million in the box office. And I said to him, how did you do it? He said, it was just like a snowball. I just pushed it down the hill and it just kept getting momentum. So I tell you, I'm going to make a film. Now, one thing you got to remember, if you're going to make a film, set some realistic deadlines to do it. Say, okay, if I'm going to make a film, make sure we're going to start shooting in 3 weeks. Then everyone knows when you talk to them, this is serious. They're about to go in 3 weeks, we got to get on this. And everyone knows. If you say to someone, I'm going to make a film, and they're like, oh, when are you going to make it? Oh, sometime next year. By the time next year's come, everyone's like, forgot about your film. So when you push that snowball, just be ready to roll. And when the work starts coming in, be ready to do that work, because basically it's a lot of work. As a director, producer, I know it's a lot of questions to answer. It's a lot of ducks in a row. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of grey hairs for some of us, some of us not. But, it is that, So when you decide to do it, pull the trigger and just go for it, man. Just go for it again.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We're going to sign off on the webcast. So thank you very much, Luke, and Create Engage team for the webcast, and everyone watching online. Thank you.